Today I'm doing what I call cardboard prototyping, where I take a cardboard box, make it approximately the same size as the enclosure I want to use, and I build the circuit into it, make sure it's working, wired up, and then I decide what enclosure I want to put it in. This one is the Buffalo Fuzz by Kendrick Amplifiers. I had never heard of this circuit or this pedal before, and I saw it on that movie about, I don't remember what it's called, Fuzz That Changed the World or whatever, and they had mentioned this pedal in there, and I was like, and this guy was playing, I thought it sounded kind of cool, and I was like, maybe I should try to build it just for kicks and play around with it. So I found a schematic online, which I've redrawn here, and it's quite a simple circuit. You can see it just uses a single op amp, and it's got this little boost switch arrangement, which is really interesting. And here, instead of the 500 kb pot with the 18K ground in front of it, I'm just going to use a 25K pot. And here, all these wires are like excessively long because I didn't know what kind of enclosure I'm going to put it in, so I just left them long on purpose. When I put it into an actual enclosure, I'm just going to cut them all down to the size they need to be, and I built it on a piece of perf board, which is adapted from, I drew it up on CAD, and I adapted it from this Vero board layout that I found online. So my plan is to take the original weird hexagonal shaped enclosure that the real one uses and make it out of wood, and about like 2/3 the size that it is, because it's like really huge. I'm going to shrink it down and try to maybe recreate the graphics the best I can. So I guess the next step is to make a wood enclosure that kind of follows the format of the original one, just kind of shrunk down a bit. So I got it all marked up, and get to use some of my hand drafting skills to draw this up and figure everything out. It's got some weird angles. Looks like 25 degrees down here and 35 over here, and it's this weird squashed hexagonal shape, but it should be pretty easy to make out of this 1/4 inch thick poplar. So guess that's what I'm doing next. Alright, so I got all the parts cut, and we're going to get ready to put the thing together. I actually cut this piece with a radial arm saw carefully, and get some nice clean edges. Instead of having to use a jigsaw like I normally would, I really ought to get a scroll saw or something, a bandsaw. I mean, I seem to be doing this often enough lately. Or a new jigsaw that's not so old as the one I got now. But anyways, this piece was fun to drill. A little bit of creative clamping on the drill press and some different bits, and we managed to do this without too much trouble. So here's just a rough fitting together of all the parts before I put the shielding on all of them. Alright, so here we have it all together. I think it turned out pretty nice considering the relatively primitive methods I have to build this thing. So next I'm going to put the guts in here, and I'm going to get everything all cleaned up, and then I'm going to take everything back out and finish this thing. Once I figure out how I want to finish it, I'm thinking I might just do like some hammerite paint or something. So, anyways, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So, a few hours later, we now have everything inside the enclosure. Circuit board's mounted, all the wiring's done. Switches are all installed and all that stuff. It's turned out pretty well, I think. And this one went actually surprisingly fast. Didn't take that long to make this enclosure. Okay, well, I keep thinking I'm done with this video, but I keep doing little things before I actually get the video put together, so I guess we'll just continue on. And here, as you can see, I've made a bottom cover. This came off of a dead computer power supply, and I just cut it down as necessary, sanded the edges here so that it makes contact with the enclosure, and I Gorilla glued some dowels in here and drilled some holes to receive screws to hold the bottom plate on, and I painted them all silver so that they doesn't look all ugly. And so now this time when I come back, I will actually, part 2 of this video will be the thing completed, which pretty much just be the finish on the enclosure and the graphics. So it took me a little while to figure out how to mount the bottom plate, but I'm pretty happy with my idea here. So there you go. See you on part 2. Here's a size comparison between Hammond 1590 BB size enclosure and my wood enclosure here.